Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 30th. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has just released surveillance video detailing an investigation that caught an American citizen plotting treason. Nuclear physicist Pedro Mascheroni was caught telling an undercover FBI agent posing as a Venezuelan official he could help the socialist nation obtain a nuclear warhead. Mascheroni tells the FBI agent Venezuela could test the device over the Pacific Ocean to, quote, put the U.S. on notice. Mascheroni promised to deliver the warhead within the next 10 years and even renounced his U.S. citizenship. This week, Mascheroni was sentenced to 5 years in prison, and his former employer, Los Alamos National Laboratory, where Mascheroni worked in the 1980s, has put stronger protocols in place to prevent future security breaches. On Thursday, the Senate held a cloture vote to approve the Keystone XL pipeline. The measure passed by a margin of 62 to 35 votes. 9 Democrats voted with Republicans to finish debate and effectively block any chance of a filibuster. President Obama issued a statement indicating his intent to veto any approval of the pipeline immediately after the vote. The Senate's version has 5 amendments that were tacked on during the debate process, and the House of Representatives must approve those amendments, as they differ greatly from the House bill originally sent to the Senate. 4 students from Brown Deer Middle School in Brown Deer, Wisconsin, are facing charges of first- and second-degree sexual assault of a child for allegedly recording a sex party on their cell phones. Police were called to the middle school after a student reported to staff that student had attended what was described as a sex party. While the age of the students is not being released, they are described as being in their early teens. According to Brown Deer Police Chief Michael Cass, no videos of the incident had been posted to social media. Cass also wanted to send a message that this behavior will not be tolerated. New York City Police Department has settled a lawsuit with a man who pled guilty to menacing after attacking police officers with a machete. In 2010, Ruhim Ullah was involved in an altercation with police, and when he used a machete against the officers, he was shot in the leg. Ullah pleaded guilty, but filed a $3 million suit against the city, accusing the officers of wrongdoing. Despite many witnesses who said Ullah was armed, the city settled the suit for $5,000. A spokesman for the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association is angered with the settlement, saying the city settles because it's cheaper than defending these cases in court. This settlement is part of a growing trend. During his first year in office, Mayor Bill de Blasio's administration paid out $732 million in legal costs for fiscal year 2014, an increase of 40% from previous years. This has been Amy Curtis with your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 30th.
Okay, so welcome back to the final hour of the final day of this week. Man, I can't believe it. If you wish to weigh in, you would be it this hour, by the way. No more guests. Houseman and I will talk, our faces off. But 412-567-6879, or tweet us at The Right Mics, MICS. And Howsam will be all over that and relay things to me that he screens and or things I should know about. So, Michael, before we continue with the rest of the show, we did a lot of political presidential stuff at the beginning. Of course, we mentioned the fact that Romney's, I think, blockbuster announcement this morning that he will not run. We talked about a couple other candidates, but I think before we continue, just to kind of close out the week properly, we do need to weigh in with Joe Biden and just get kind of the lay of the land politically over the last 6 years, according to Uncle Joe. So Jessica, let's listen to what Uncle Joe just had to say.
To state the obvious, the past 6 years have been really, really hard for this country. And they've been really tough for our party. Just ask Steve. I mean, they've been really tough for our party. But together, it's because together, we made some really, really tough decisions. decisions that weren't at all popular, hard to explain, hard.
These are decisions. Two things that come to my mind on that. Number one, nothing better than Joe Biden preceding something with, well, obviously I'm going to state the obvious.
Needless to say, the last 6 years, i.e., the Obama presidency, have been very, very, very hard on this country. You know that just Obama just has to just lose it when he hears that kind of crap. I joke with my wife sometimes that when Joe makes like a completely asinine statement, like even his wife, right? He goes home, he hits the door, and she's just standing there like, what the hell is wrong with you? I mean, well, how could you even think about saying something like that, let alone saying it? He is just a complete cartoon, man. That was hilarious.
Oh, it's just so good. And you know what? What was the oh shoot, there was another thing that he said in there that I was just so overwhelmed at the very beginning. I couldn't with that obvious code. I was going to write down the second thing he said that I thought was just amazing that he would.
Jessica, just for the hell of it, it's 40 seconds long. Roll it again. If you
Oh
can.
yeah, let's please do.
Let's do a redo. Pretty please.
Hey, sorry, I just got out of it because it was auto playing another clip.
Okay, I'm
I need to get
sorry.
it
But
in.
anyway, yeah, no hurry. But yeah.
In the
'cause
meantime, Mike, you know what I can do? I can do a 40-second interpretive dance of Joe Biden.
you really could, but you have to be, see, because here's the deal, and I've said this before, like, I think Joe Biden's probably a nice guy. He can be a buffoon, but hey, we know buffoons we like. But he's like your crazy uncle that lives in an upstairs bedroom. You love him to death. You love to go have a beer with him. You just hope he doesn't come downstairs in his tidy whities and wife beater t-shirt while you have company over. So if you're going to do an interpretive dance at some point, you need to think it through, because I think you need to be wearing the tidy whities and the whole bit. So, okay, Jessica's got it. Let's hear it again, just so we can make sure we get the gravitas of what Joe said.
To state the obvious, the past 6 years have been really, really hard for this country. And they've been really tough for our party. Just ask Steve. I mean, they've been really tough for our party. But together, it's because together, we made some really, really tough decisions. Decisions that weren't at all popular, hard to explain, hard.
Explain.
God, it's just like, it's like Obama saying, he said it multiple times. He's been interviewed, he's bragged about how well the economy's doing now, and, jobs humming along, and blah, 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 blah. And then he's been asked by the interviewer, do you think America, I think Bob Schieffer even asked him this one time. I mean, Comrade Bob, do you think Americans get it? Do they understand it? And he said no, because it's been tough to explain to them. That people don't want an explanation, dude. They want to see it in their checkbook, and but Joe Biden is definitely the gift that keeps on giving. And I hope like hell. I mean, I cross my fingers hoping that dude does at least participate in the primaries for a while. It would be awesome.
Oh my gosh, it totally would. Oh, it totally would. And honestly, if he meant impossible by the phrase really hard, then I would just agree with him in terms of explanations. Some of the things we've done are impossible to explain. In fact, as I sit and look back at it, I have no idea what we were thinking. Then at that point, I'd be like, "Oh, Joe, welcome to the party."
And of course, you can translate explain into rationalize or make logical, because they haven't. But I mean, it's just come right out of the chute with the last 6 years. I don't have to tell you this. The last 6 years have really sucked. That is just. Ah. So that was pretty funny. I just had to get that in there because I did not want to end the week by forgetting that.
That's just Biden, man. That's just so beautiful. I mean, it really is just so perfect, perfect, perfect.
So, Jess, send the link to Mr. Hausum, please. Speaking of some of my favorite Democrats, I think I sent this to you, and this is relatively short, but camera whore Chuck Schumer now coming out and saying that Republicans hate illegal immigrants more than they do ISIS. Did you see that?
Yes. Well, you know what? Here's the thing, man, is we'll go through that and then I have some comments about it. Go ahead and talk about what he had to say.
Because this was in the context, and this is even more abhorrent. I mean, Chuck Schumer's a cartoon. He's often a caricature of himself. But this story, the larger story, been out for a couple of days. Senate Democrats threatening to block action on legislation funding the Homeland Security Department. Democrats, Senate Democrats, until Republicans get rid of the provisions that Republicans call for reversing Obama's, what shall we call it, illegal immigration decree. So without action by the end of February, the department will lose funding, if you will, for various people within Homeland Security, counterterrorism, other activities and stuff. And again, Republicans, on the other hand, using this as leverage that they're not going to fully fund the deal until Obama backs off, or whatever his decree, his de facto amnesty for these people. But Chucky Schumer, and again, this is why, and listen, there are Republican camera whores as well, but Chucky's one of the biggest ones. Peter King coming to mind, by the way, for Republicans, but Chucky Schumer, one of the, if not the biggest one on the left, certainly one of them. Speaking of Republicans, he said, quote, "They seem to dislike the idea of supporting Homeland Security. They dislike Dreamers more than they dislike ISIS."
Right. Oh my gosh, that's just so perfect. I mean, just the language of Dreamers. Here's the thing for the Democrats, and it's really, really tough. When you've got so many different things that you want to say about Republicans, that they're evil, that they hate women, they hate colored people. Do you see what I did there? Yeah. They hate the poor. They hate old people. They hate dreamers. They hate immigrants. They hate factory workers. They hate blue collar
old people. Kids.
Right, exactly.
And sending illegal immigrants back to wherever the hell they came from is the equivalent of sending boats full of Jews back to Nazi Germany. Yeah, they've covered all those bases.
Well, here's the thing. It's very difficult, especially with social media, with the internet. You say something and it's out there forever. It's very difficult to prioritize which things you want to accuse the Republicans of hating more, because and then to figure out something that everybody hates, such as ISIS. That's a brilliant move to compare it to that. So you can put in, and this may be, there's the Democratic left-wing talking points. And I can imagine that this thing comes out like this. They seem to dislike the idea of supporting blank. They dislike blank more than they dislike ISIS. So then you just fill in those two blanks. They seem to dislike the idea of supporting healthcare. They dislike the unwell more than they dislike ISIS. I mean, you can just fill in those two blanks, and it applies to almost every single topic. They seem to dislike the idea of supporting increased incomes. They dislike the unemployed more than they dislike ISIS. I mean, doesn't that work so well, Mike?
Well, it absolutely does. And put another way is they hate blank more than they hate blank. And that can be ISIS, that can be the Nazis, that can